Hi, Joan.
Hi there. How you doing?
I'm cooking, so I will listen, but I won't show my picture because I'm cooking. How's everything? How are you feeling?
Hanging in there.
Okay, good. That's good. I would have expected like Karen would be here already.
Yeah, well, you know, they may have been going on to that other website.
Right, I know just when I turned it on, I noticed that there was a correction. So.
Right.
Hi, Deborah. Hi, Rabbi.
Hi, everybody. How are you
Hi,
doing?
Hi, Rabbi. Anything to proofread?
Yes. Not yet, but it's going to come soon. Today was a crazy day.
I'm gonna mute.
Who was the person with the portion of the head?
What?
Who was the person with the portion of the head?
Yeah,
Betty.
Fall out and it's stuck in the machine.
Hi, Rabbi Saks. Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you so much for presenting for Hillcrest this morning.
Oh, my pleasure.
Oh, here, I went further down. Okay, so.
Don't have a chat.
Hi, Andrea. Good seeing you.
Hi.
I'm Edna.
Hey, Rabbi. How are you? Long time no see.
I just see the article. Oh, no, I'm not in. Finding love in Jewish community in Nigeria. You know, maybe that's the guy.
Someone should mute themselves. I don't know who is.
I don't know how to get him.
I'm not running this meeting, so I'm not.
No concern.
I have no idea.
Right.
That is, oh my.
Coming back in, right?
No, she's not, because you're gonna be on this. Here,
Yeah, but she's not. When is she coming back?
Thursday,
Thursday.
drink,
Huh?
drink water.
Gonna run all night.
No, because it's 12 in the afternoon. Drink water. Okay, so you're just waiting for the
Get in?
I'll be back in 1 second.
Take your time.
Not like we. Hi, Edna.
Why can't I get in?
Hello, Rabbi Kogan.
Hello. Hello.
Good of you to join us. We've been having a problem.
You are having a problem? Which problem are you having? Which problem do you have?
We couldn't get in the link and I got a message from an email from someone and I had to reply to her and send her the new, the corrected link. So here we are. Hopefully she can join.
Who's that, Bertha?
Yeah.
I
Who
can't
said
get
that?
in.
Rabbi Saks, Eliana is your daughter?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Rabbi Saks. It's so nice
Hi.
to see you. It's too
Thank
bad
you.
we can't meet in person.
Yeah, I know.
This will have to do for now.
Sure. Actually, it's funny because Zoom has actually been helpful. I don't know if you ever heard of something called Limud. It's all over the country in cities, and it's a day of learning. So I was contacted. We have friends in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, where I was a rabbi for a while. And they want me to speak, and Eliana's going to be with me as well, and maybe Moshe, at Winnipeg Limud. So it's a lot easier to get on Zoom to go to Winnipeg than get on a plane and fly to Winnipeg. So in that case, Zoom is helpful.
you have time. unless you have time.
Yes, true, that you won't mind taking an airplane. But we just got back from Israel a couple weeks ago. We just made it before they closed the country back down. And although the flight was okay, wearing your mask for 12 hours in a row is not fun. So it's,
It's never going to be fun.
no, it's true.
But you know what? My 4-year-old granddaughter learned when she comes out in the morning, that's what she does. She puts her
Yeah,
mask on.
all the little ones, right? My grandkids go to school, nursery school, elementary school. It's what they do.
4534. Followed by passcode 201125. The work.
I'll try to type it in because it's not letting me by just.
The typo.
All right,
Okay, see
thank
you
you.
later.
Okay, got it.
Let's just wait another couple of minutes,
Sure.
see, and then I'll open the meeting.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah, she's on.
Okay, I guess. I don't know. I hope some people are not having a difficulty opening this link.
We did.
What happened to Karen?
Oh, shit.
Okay. I'm
Who
going to
was
quote.
it?
I'm going to quote that in my sermon. No, everybody should mute yourself. Everybody should mute yourself. It's a good lesson for
please.
everybody.
Thank you. I have a feeling some people are having a hard time getting on.
It's very clear if you go to the latest email that came through.
I know. But I don't see.
Maybe they think it's began at
How do I get my?
Do it by clicking on it. I had to type it in.
no, I just clicked on join. It went right through.
How do I get my picture on here?
You go to
Who's-
the either the bottom or the top of your screen on the right hand side, and there's a camera. You click on it.
Camera. I don't see a camera.
It looks like a television camera that would be filming a
Right.
television show.
And it says stop video or on video.
Oh, start video.
There you go. There you go.
It may say
Well-
stop video.
It doesn't, my picture still is not here.
There's on the
Who's that?
bottom left-hand corner, there's a little camera. It's a second icon and it's a.
No,
under-
I'm on my iPad, so my
everyone's
things
iPad is
are on the
different.
top.
Everyone's device has a different setup.
Yeah,
Okay, if it says start video, is that where I press?
try it.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Unable to access camera.
Ah,
Well, son, then it's your device that's blocking you.
How do I, oh,
When you started, it should have said that you would hook up with your video when you first turned it on. Turn off, start it again. And when you start it, it will ask you to hook up with your video.
Whatever.
Okay.
Karen is having trouble getting on. I just called her.
I don't, Karen, are you on? I don't see you.
No, she's having trouble getting on.
Huh?
She's having trouble getting on. I just called her.
Oh, oh gosh.
Tell her
Did she get-
to type it in. I had the same trouble. Just tell her to type it in.
I'm sorry, Rabbi Saks, we're having such.
That's
uh,
okay. Today's my day off, so I have plenty of time.
Okay. Okay, well, I think I'm going to start the meeting and hopefully people will be able to click in.
Considering I have 5 hours of Zooming today between exercise classes and everything else, I'm jumping around from place to place.
It's
And
wonderful
pray-
that you're so busy.
It's called moving without pain. That's why I
Yeah.
do it.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to open the meeting and hopefully some people will be able to join us. Anyway, I want to welcome all of you to our Hadassah Sisterhood meeting. And hopefully, in the near future, we will. Oh, gee, let me mute this. And I'm sorry.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Hi, Moshe. Good to see you.
And now you did it.
Okay, will everyone please?
Good.
Okay. Will everybody please mute yourselves? Okay. Anyway, I want to welcome all of you to our meeting today. And as I said before, hopefully one of these months, years, we'll be able to meet each other in person again. I know this is difficult for all of us, but as Rabbi Saks just mentioned before, it has its advantages as well. And people can join us from near and far who haven't been able to come to in person. So Karen Rothman, who's Sisterhood president, hopefully you're joining us, Karen, and is not going to speak today, but I really want to thank her. And we've been working together in all these programs, and it's been really wonderful working together. Before I introduce Rabbi Saks, as usual, I do want to give you some information about Hadassah, because Hadassah is very important to us, and that's one of the reasons why we're meeting. As you know, Hadassah really does wonderful work in their hospitals and research. And this is just one of many stories that I'd like to share with you. A persistent hoarse throat signals malignancy. Hadassah treatment eradicates it. Often we tend to deny medical symptoms that something is amiss with our health. We convince ourselves that everything is fine. Yossi Haddad, age 53, did just that. One morning, Yossi noticed he was very hoarse. At first, when the horseman did not go away, he attributed to a stubborn cold. But as the hoarseness persisted, he went to see an ear, nose, and throat ENT physician in his community. The doctor did not find anything unusual, and about a week later, the hoarseness disappeared, relates Haddad. 2 months later, the hoarseness returned, and this time it did not go away. Something felt strange, Hadassah says, so he again sought medical help. The physician noticed paralysis in his vocal cords and immediately sent him for an MRI, which revealed that he had a malignant thyroid tumor that had spread to nearby lymph nodes. Fortunately, Haddad chose to come to Hadassah Hospital in Kerem in time to save his life. He was treated by head and neck surgeon, Dr. Nir. It is true that Haddad is a young man without risk factors, Dr. Hirschman says, and yet extensive testing revealed.
What?
Dressing, salad dressing.
Yeah.
Please mute yourself. It revealed that he had a malignancy in his thyroid gland that had spread to his lymph nodes and nearby organs. Dr. Hirschman explains, though a thyroid tumor is most common in women, It's still diagnosed in men in about 1/10 of the cases. He adds it's usually more aggressive in men and accordingly requires more aggressive treatment. Shortly after Haddad came to see Dr. Hirschhorn, he underwent an operation to remove the tumor. Though the tumor was at a relatively advanced stage, and despite the complexity of the surgery, Dr. Hirschhorn reports we were able to remove the entire tumor completely and restore the functioning of the organs involved. Following surgery and additional treatment, Dr. Hirschhorn says, I am more than happy to say that Haddad is free of the disease. And as I said before, this is just one of the many cases that Hadassah is treating. And we can be very proud to support Hadassah in whichever way we can. And I just want to mention that also on Sunday, January 9th, from 11 a.m. to 5:30, Hadassah is hosting a program called The Power of Purpose. It's a national conference and the organization's first to celebrate women's empowerment. Now, you can, if you're interested in joining this conference, go to hadassah.org and the information will be there for you to click on the conference. Okay, so now you have all the Hadassah news, and I know you're anxious to hear Rabbi Moshe Saks and what he has to say. As I wrote before in the program notice, that he'll be speaking about the emerging Jewish communities in Africa, specifically Nigeria. And I hope all of you read the article in the July-August Hadassah issue about Rabbi Saks's daughter. And I think I saw her name on here.
Yeah, Eliana is here, and Moshe is here from Nigeria.
Oh, that's
well.
wonderful. That's wonderful.
Great, yeah.
I hope you all read the article. And just to introduce Rabbi Saks and his background, excuse me, I hope I don't have anything else. Rabbi Saks is a spiritual leader of the Israel Center for Conservative Judaism, which is just around the corner from us on 73rd Avenue.
I've been on the whole time.
Please
Okay.
mute.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Please mute yourself, whoever that is. He's having previously served as the rabbi of Temple Israel in Scranton, Pennsylvania. He was formerly the spiritual leader of the Beth Tzedek congregation, the largest synagogue in Alberta, Canada. Rabbi Saks was ordained at the Jewish Theological Seminary of America in 1981, at which time he also received his MA in rabbinics. He previously attended Yeshiva University in New York, where he received a BA in history and a Bachelor of Hebrew Letters in Jewish history. Rabbi Saks is a well-known expert in the dietary laws for his denomination, the conservative. During this time, his time in Philadelphia, from 1980, I'm sorry.
I'm very old, very old.
1997. He served as Rav Machshir, Director of Kosher Certification for the Rabbinical Assembly, Philadelphia region. He was also involved in interfaith work, especially while he served as Senior Rabbi of Tzedek Congregation in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, both with the Alberta chapter of the CCJ, Canadian Council of Christians and Jews, and in teaching courses in Judaism for the community, most notably for the Diocese of Calgary. Rabbi Saks received the Alberta Centennial Medal for outstanding service to the people and province of Alberta. Rabbi Saks is married to Mara Shapira, the daughter of a rabbi, and they have 5 children and 6 grandchildren, of which Eliana is the one whose story we are about to hear, and the one you've read in the Hadassah magazine. And Rabbi Saks, it's all yours now.
Thank you. Let me just update the my bio because I didn't update it. We're up to 8 grandchildren now, so we'll just add that.
Oh, okay.
Hadassah is really always been very close to my heart, not only as a conservative rabbi, because as you know, Henrietta Soul went to JTS as a young woman. And in fact, had they been ordaining women in those days, she would have been one of the first candidates for rabbinical school. Of course, they did not in those days. Also, my wife, Meira, is a life member of Hadassah, as is her mother, 90-year-old Ruth Shapiro. So it's wonderful to be with you today. And normally, my first statement when I talk is, did you read the article? So Bertha already took care of that. If for some chance you misplaced the magazine when you received it, you didn't read it, you can go online, of course, to hadassah.org and just type in Eliana's name, Eliana Saks, and you'll see the article that she wrote. And that's really the beginning of the story. I myself, up until then, had no knowledge really of the African Jewish community, short of South Africa, which we know have a lot of survivors of the Holocaust and others that went there. But in terms of the Africans themselves, so another resource that you can watch and view to give you a little more of a background about African Jewry is it's a video, it's a movie, a documentary made by a man named Jeff Lieberman, who lives in New York, but actually the native of Vancouver, British Columbia. It's called Nigeria, Emerging Jewish Communities in Africa, Nigeria. You can watch it for free on Amazon Prime if you have Amazon Prime. Another interesting documentary is called The Jews of Ghana, about a woman from New York, a social worker, a teacher, I think, who went to Ghana on a charity mission and wound up finding the Jewish community there. So those 2 movies may give you a very good background in terms of some of the African Jewish communities. But if you read the story that Eliana wrote, it's at that point we met Moshe. She told us about their relationship, and we met him online on FaceTime, of course. And Moshe mentioned to me that he'd been trying for a number of years to get a Beit Din of 3 rabbis to Abuja, the capital of Nigeria, to do a conversion for a lot of the people there. Now, this community had been practicing Judaism for many, many years, keeping kosher, observing Shabbat. There are synagogues. In fact, the synagogue that we dealt with was the one started by Moshe's father, Habakkuk, in a little suburb of Abuja. And they meet regularly for Shabbat, for holidays. There's learning that goes on. And Moshe himself, and he'll tell you a little bit more if you'd like to know, goes around Nigeria, the different synagogues teaching. In any event, Moshe said, is there any way that I could arrange a Beit Din? Because we knew they were going to have a tribal ceremony. It wasn't a wedding. It was basically a tribal ceremony. And we knew we were going to be there for that in August. So there would be obviously a good time to do the Beit Din, do the conversion. And again, unusual because normally, when you convert someone to Judaism, they need a period of when they observe Judaism, they study about it, they come to the synagogue. But in this case, every single person was actively involved in observing Judaism, including the children of these families. So that wasn't the issue. The issue was getting 2 other rabbis to go to be part of it. So the first thing I did was, there's really only one African rabbi who's a conservative rabbi, which we wanted conservative rabbis, and his name is Gershom Sizomu. He's from Uganda. And Rabbi Sizomu himself, part of the Abu Daya community, Jewish community in Uganda, grew up observing Judaism, and his father was the leader of the community there, and wound up going to rabbinical school in the United States at Ziegler Rabbinical School, which is part of University of Judaism on the West Coast. And then he came back in the mid-2000s, and he has a wonderful community. He's built there some synagogues, a Jewish day school. He's also a shochet and a mohel. And so my first thought was I must involve him in the Beit Din. In fact, he became the head of the Beit Din because he is physically, although it's still a long plane ride, physically closest to the community. And he really is the only African conservative rabbi on the continent. And he immediately agreed to do it. Wonderful man. And now I needed a third. Now, as it turned out, my son Ari, who's a rabbi in Huntington, Long Island, was very excited by this. And he and his wife, Rachel, our daughter-in-law, and their two children, and Rachel's mom decided to attend and also to make a little vacation of it. The problem is that Ari couldn't be on the Beit Din. You can't have two blood relatives on the Beit Din. I need a third rabbi. So it's an interesting story. I knew about this organization, and I'd like you to remember the name. It's called Kulanu, Kulanu, and you can look at it on the web. You can go to their website. It's an organization which literally its sole purpose is to promote and help emerging Jewish communities, not just in Africa, but all over the world. So I'd heard of them. So I went on the website to see if I could talk to someone about maybe, because I knew they had sent rabbis to do exactly this in their history. So it turns out that the vice president of the organization is a woman named Bonnie, and her husband, Jerry Sussman, has been the rabbi of a shul in Staten Island for the last 35 years. So I wrote Bonnie an email. Now, we were friendly, very friendly in rabbinical school. He's a classmate of mine, and sort of lost touch over the years. But the moment I emailed her, she was happy, didn't know we were in New York, obviously. We met, we talked, and not only did Rabbi Sussman say, oh, sure, I'm going to come to do this, but Bonnie came as well and even got us a small grant to cover some of the expenses that we would incur in terms of just making sure this was done. And so because of that, again, if you go to the Kulanu website, she has posted a number of pictures of the community and of the conversion that took place. So we arranged this. There was a little bit of a hitch, I should say, and this is also an interesting sort of side story to do with the tribal affiliations. So one of the names, I wanted someone to document, to film the conversion. So I got hooked up through Jeff Lieberman, who I talked to, is an American who's now an Israeli. He and two colleagues were actually going to be in Nigeria right before we were, and they're doing a documentary on all of African Jewry, not just Nigeria, but they were going to be in southern Nigeria. And although he told me he wouldn't be able to because he was only scheduled to be there for a week, something happened that really made the news. He and his colleagues were in a southern Nigerian synagogue and gave a Sefer Torah as a present to the synagogue there. Of course, like anywhere else, everybody photographed it and put it on their Facebook page. And it turns out that they were arrested. Why were they arrested? If you know a little bit about the history of Nigeria, you know there was a revolution back in the 80s of the Biafran people, who claimed wanted to be independent. And there was a whole war, remember about the starvation that went on. They lost, but they're still in the southern part of Nigeria, and they're led by this sort of very strange character who was a former real estate agent who visited Israel and was finally apprehended about the same time that these people were arrested, because he claimed, the leader, that all Biafrans are Jews, and therefore Israel wants to help them fight Nigeria to establish their Biafran state, which of course is not true. The Israelis actually have good relationship with the Nigerian government, but they were arrested because somebody posted it who was a Biafran national saying, oh, look, because the leader said, oh, look, the Israelis are here to help liberate us from the Nigerians. So of course, Nigerians immediately arrested them thinking they were Biafran nationalists or sympathizers. Of course, they weren't. It took them about 2 or 3 weeks to get released. But there is an issue, and the issue is that the Biafrans, the nationalists, are all pretty much from the Igbo tribe. That is the same tribe, the Igbo tribe, that Moshe is from, and are the majority of the African Jews. So the government basically thinks that if you say you're an Igbo and you're Jewish, you must be a Biafran nationalist, and things can be very dangerous. So the truth is, and Moshe can talk more about this, you could be arrested if you say it in public, make a public declaration. I'm Jewish, and that's not good. So that's dangerous. It's not even from anti-Semitism so much. It's just this idea of Biafra nationalism. In any event, we made it to. We were a little concerned, but everything, thank God, worked out. We made it to Abuja. We, of course, were greeted by the family, by Habakkuk and his family. We went to Habakkuk. Habakkuk is he's a landowner. He owns a plot of land. People live on it in apartments. They pay him rent. That's how he makes a living. And his own compound has their house. There's a special hut that he has for self-meditation. There's also the synagogue is there on the compound. And also there's a guest house that was helped to be built by a conservative rabbi that Moshe made acquaintance with, Rabbi Wayne Franklin, who also I happen to know, who's a retired rabbi in Providence, Rhode Island. So we went to visit, and you know, it's African. There's no air conditioning. There are goats and chickens running around. It was for us fascinating. In fact, there were 2 baby goats were born about a week before we got there. They were adorable. And so we met Habakkuk and welcomed us. And in terms of, you know, the conversion, we went to, there's a local stream where we went to see if it was appropriate used as the mikveh, because there's no built mikveh, obviously. We went to the stream. It was pretty dirty, but there was a place that we could dunk people in. And so we were set. And the next number of days, we interviewed every single person. Moshe had already done the legwork. He vetted all of the people to make sure that they were on the up and up, that they really wanted this seriously, and they all did. And we interviewed everyone. When that was on Friday we did, and then more on Sunday. We spent Shabbat with them. Shabbat was amazing. We had everybody tried to come for Shabbat. It was just an amazing Shabbat. I can talk about that later if you'd like. And so Sunday we had more interviews. Rabbi Sizomu being a Mohel. Now, none of the men needed to be circumcised because in the Igbo tradition, all boys are circumcised on the 8th day. That's part of their Jewish heritage, so to speak. Of course, it's from the Torah. However, for most of them, they didn't have the proper brachot or ceremony, so we still had to do what's called hatafat dam. They had to draw a drop of blood, which is not a huge deal, but he took care of that. And then we went to the river. Here's where it gets interesting. Of course, we took the women first, just the women, and we did it, you know, with a screen, so there's modesty to get undressed, because they have to go in either without clothes or with very loose-fitting clothing. The problem was the women were terrified of the river. They had never been in the river before. They were afraid of drowning. Now, it wasn't that deep, but they were still very scared. And it threatened to disrupt the whole notion of doing the mikveh. Luckily, as fate would have it, Ari's wife, Rachel, was a certified water instructor, as was her mother. So Carol and Rachel literally jumped into this dirty water and helped all of the women to dunk. Without them, it wouldn't have happened. It was just an amazing confluence of circumstances. So they took care of that. And then the men were okay, you know, supervised to jump in on their own to do the mikveh. That took most of the day. Monday was the actual conversion day. We had a lovely shacharit service it was Rosh Chodesh. And we spent a couple hours filling out all the paperwork because I needed to not only give them an actual certificate of conversion, I needed a copy for myself to keep on file. So we did that. We had a lovely ceremony in which I presided to do the ceremony of conversion. We gave out the paper. People were ecstatically happy. And then Ari had arranged, because he had spoken with Moshe and a lot of the couples, there were 10 or 11 couples that have, of course, already been legally married, but never had a Jewish wedding. And so we arranged, Habakkuk went and got poles, and we used talit. So there were afterwards, after the ceremony, there were in the courtyard of the compound, there were 10 or 11 chupot. Each couple stood under the chuppah, and Ari did a mass wedding ceremony. We had kosher grape juice, we had rings, we had a glass to break, all of that. He did that, the brachot for everyone, and then individually the ring ceremony. And Rabbi Sizomu spoke to the couples at the wedding. And then after the wedding, we had a traditional meal with the Sheva Brachot and the Birkat Hamazon. I had brought dentures with me, having 5 children, 5 b'nai mitzvah, and 4 weddings. You must know I have a zillion dentures, from those events. So I brought about 50 with me and left them with the community. We used that for the Birkat Hamazon that Rabbi Sussman led. So that was really the conversion. It was, I'll just conclude and then I'll let Moshe or Eliana talk, or it's certainly better to ask questions. It was an amazing experience. Here were people who knew they weren't halakhically Jews because we can't really connect them to ancient Israel. And there are different theories as to why they became Jewish, so to speak. The common theory, and Moshe can speak more about this if he wants, the king of the Igbo some 200 years ago, who was a Christian, converted to be a Christian, realized after a while that the New Testament didn't make sense to him. It was the Old Testament he wanted to embrace, and embrace the Old Testament, and hence the Jewish customs. But they knew they wanted to be declared halakhically Jews. And so because Moshe, and there's a separate story, Moshe was at Camp Ramah in the Berkshires in 2019, before the pandemic, as a program that Kulanu had helped with Ramah to bring, not only they bring Israelis every summer, but to bring African Jews, so the kids would get to see Black Jews and Jews of African descent. And Moshe was one of those that came and had a wonderful time and befriended the different rabbis and people and learning, and it was just a wonderful experience. So that's how come we got involved as the conservative movement with the conversion. But the hitlahavut, the intensity and the fervor of the people there, the children who read the Hebrew and speak Hebrew and sing, and it was just an amazing experience. It was a congregation unlike any other I've ever seen, that everyone was so intensely Jewish in terms of their spirit and what they wanted to do, that it was probably, I would say, the most moving experience of my life in terms of being a rabbi and being able to help other Jews. So that is the story in a nutshell. Let me ask Eliana if she wants to say a few words in addition to what I've said, and maybe Moshe, and then you can all, of course, ask questions. Probably the best way, specific things that I might have overlooked, omitted, or that you want to know. Ellie, you want to say something?
Yeah, sure. Well, actually, if I can really quickly, I just wanted to share I have some pictures which people might be interested to see to kind of match everything up with the words. So let me see if I can share my screen. Oh, I cannot. Okay. I can send around the slideshow later. But yeah, it was a really great experience. I first went to Nigeria in December of last year. That's when Moshe and I got engaged. And then we met up once more in Rwanda and we started planning for this conversion. And luckily my father was able to come, and also my brother was able to come, which was really great. So yeah, it was just an incredible experience. And the community there is just, they're really incredible. When I went, it was funny because everybody thought, because I was what maybe you would call like an original Jew, I was an American Jew, everybody thought that they could learn so much from me, but really I was the one learning from them. And to be honest, they know so much more about traditional Judaism than I do. Because they spend all day studying, they've all devoted their lives to this, to Judaism. So it's really incredible to see. I wanted to share the PowerPoint so you could see. I recorded some of the prayers that they did, and also the Havdalah ceremony, which was really great. But
I want to see, Eliana, if I can put you as a co-host so you can.
Okay.
But I am not the host, so it doesn't allow me to.
That's okay.
Who's the host?
Who is the host? Bertha. Who is having Hillcrest Jewish Center as a host besides me?
You're muted.
The link is from Hillcrest Jewish Center.
No, I'm trying to think who can give.
Who can give what?
Freda is one of the Hillcrest. I don't know who the other one is. One is Freda.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question.
Because Freda is
I'm
one of the
going-
Hillcrest Jewish Center ones. I don't
I'm
know.
going,
who the
I'm
other
going, you please continue. I'm going to check if
Okay,
I can fix it from there, okay?
yeah, sure. Yeah, and I also, when I was there, I traveled down to, the Igbo people are from a few different states, but mainly Anambra, which is, they call it the East. It's kind of in the southeast of Nigeria, so they call it the East. And I went down there for Moshe's sister's wedding when I was there, and I was able to kind of travel around to the different Jewish communities there. There are tons of Jewish communities around Nigeria. They're all very small. They all have pretty limited access to materials, except what they get from people that come down and bring things, and people disperse it around Nigeria. They do have about, Moshe can correct me, I think there are 3 or 4 Sefer Torahs in Nigeria currently that are in different communities. But yeah, I went down and they were all asking me if everything they were doing was correct, and they wanted to get my feedback. And yeah, it was just a really incredible experience. I was able to learn a lot from them. And they really wanted this conversion so much, and they are so grateful that this was able to happen. They know that this means, because it was a conservative conversion, it doesn't mean that they can go to Israel, but that's not really their goal. They just want to be recognized by at least some of the external Jewish communities as to be Jews, because they know they're Jews and they want a little bit of recognition. Even though they're still not accepted by the Orthodox community, they recognize that. Most of the Jews in Nigeria are Orthodox. They're based on a very traditional Judaism, like based on, it's a Judaism from the Torah, not modern Judaism like what we have in the US. But they were all very open to the conservative rabbis performing the conversion, because they do know that they are not currently accepted by the Orthodox community. Moshe's community is more conservative because he went to Camp Ramah, he went to Rabbi Suzomo's yeshiva, and he learned things and brought it back to his community. But Moshe is really to thank for much of the Judaism that's being practiced in Nigeria right now, because Kulanu supported him traveling around and teaching all of the communities after he had studied at the yeshiva in Uganda.
Right, let me explain real quickly that I didn't mention. So after Moshe became a bar mitzvah in Abuja, he realized that he really wanted to be halakhically Jewish, and so he sought out Rabbi Suzomu. He went to Uganda for, was it 6 months, Eliana, it was, I think, or more? And
summer, 3 months.
yeah, and he studied with Rabbi Suzomu, and then he was halakhically converted to Judaism by Rabbi Suzomu. So Moshe himself became a halachically converted Jew well before this all happened with the mass conversion. And in fact, because of his studying and everything else, like I said, he goes and teaches. He still does that, teaches other communities in Nigeria. Is Moshe, can you talk to us and say hello? I'm not sure if, I know you were on before. The Wi-Fi. Oh, there you go. Good.
Hi everyone, my name is Moshe. Most people call me Hezekiah. I'm from Nigeria, like Abba said, and like Elena also said, I'm from Nigeria. And I've been a leader to most Jewish communities in Nigeria, mostly the eastern part and a few part of Lagos, which is the former capital of Nigeria, but currently Abuja is the capital of Nigeria. So I'm also a leader to my community, and with the help of so many, very few of religious organizations in the US, I've been able to study with few rabbis. I was in touch before I went to, I got in touch with Rabbi Wayne Franklin just the day on my bar mitzvah, who sent a tefillin for me, because, you know, in Nigeria, it's very difficult to get a tefillin for your bar mitzvah. So during my bar mitzvah, Rabbi Franklin sent me a tefillin to use, which I started using. And after my bar mitzvah, I started being in touch with Rabbi Franklin, who I have been studying with for so many years. Right now, I think it's about 12 years. And so in 2014, I was sponsored by Kolanu to go study with Rabbi Gershom Suzomo for 3 months. And after my studies with Rabbi Gershom Suzomo, I came back to my community and I started I started teaching, and I started. I was sponsored also by Colano to become a touring teacher in Nigeria. So I started traveling to different communities in the eastern part, the western part, and also the capital. Yeah, we have 2 current synagogues in Abuja. So sometimes I'm in one part of the synagogue, which is not my synagogue, but I'm still in Abuja. So I mostly stay there for like up to a month. Sometimes I'm there up to 3 weeks. And all I do is I teach about Shabbat, trying to bring more souls into Judaism, which most of these people who I have been teaching for the past so many years are part of the people who the Bedouin came to Nigeria and they converted. So we were able to convert about 94, right?
Right. Including children, there were 94 people converting. Yes.
Exactly. So including children, we're able to convert 94 people. So most of these people were from Port Harcourt, which I've been in touch with, and also they have also been in touch with Rabbi Gorin, who was in Nigeria 2002. So I was in Camp Ramabek 2019, and after my experience, it was a very wonderful experience because I was able to study. Like I told my fiancée Eliana, I told her like the main purpose of me going to Camp Ramabek was because I wanted to help my community. I wanted to study for them, and because I know like it's an opportunity for me because it's not something I can always see every time. So when I went to Camp Ramabek, I devoted mostly all my time to learning from the people, like from the kids, the campers, and also from the camp counselors. And also I spent almost all my time in the library, which was very, very amazing for me because, seeing a library you haven't seen before for a very long time, it's crazy. The last time I saw such a film was in Abayudaya in Uganda. So I was really excited to be in Camp Ramabek shoes. And then after that, I came in contact with Eliana, which currently she was in Abuja last year at December, and everything went so well. And currently we're hoping to be together in the US, hopefully, Bezrat Hashem. I'm here to answer any question if you have any question to ask about the Jews in Nigeria. And also my brother-in-law is here, Ugo. So
Ugo's here. Hi, Ugo.
Yeah.
So Ellie, do you want to show the slideshow first, or we'll have them answer?
I'm able to share, so I'll just share some photos first, and then if you want to ask questions. So I'll go through it a little bit quickly. If there's anything you want to go back to later, just let me know. Can everybody see the slideshow?
I see it.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is the Habakkuk's compound. My dad was talking about where the synagogue is. This is some Jews with a Sefer Torah in Nigeria. And then I have just more of the compound. This is the guest house that Rabbi Franklin helped to build. There's a little plaque dedicated to him. And this is the compound where the synagogue is. Inside here is where the shul is.
Or they hope to expand the synagogue.
They're working on it. They're on construction right now. So this is inside the synagogue. This is the bima. Behind it is the ark.
Right, now I should tell you, the ark is like in a separate room, and the eternal light is actually a disco ball, which I think we should adopt here in the States. Get rid of our Ner Tamid and put a disco ball up. It's really cool.
And that's their small library. That's the women's section. They have a pizza. And this is from one of the bar mitzvahs of their young leader, Shmuel. This is from Nigeria. This is Moshe teaching members of the community when he was traveling and bringing books that Kulanu gave him. This is Moshe still in on Shmuel, and some of the women lighting the Hadassah or Shabbat candles or Hadassah candles. This is Rabbi Franklin with Moshe when he came to visit Nigeria. He came, I forget which year Moshe came. It was several years ago. It was when he's retired now. It was when he was still the rabbi in Rhode Island. And this is a bunch of members of the community. This is the ark.
Just go back. Oh, there. Okay, there's Habakkuk, right?
Yes,
That's
this is
Moshe's
Habakkuk.
father next
This
to
was
Eliam.
really quickly, this was an Igbo blessing that he gave to me. You give it to all visitors when they come. You pray over something called the kolanut. It's part of the Igbo tradition. So just to see a little bit of what the tradition is like, I can play this. So this is when I came to visit. They were welcoming me, speaking in Igbo, and giving me good blessings and welcoming me to their community. This is when I came to give donations that I brought with me. And then I was there for Hanukkah, so this is them lighting Hanukkah candles. And some of the women. That's Moshe's mother and his sister and another member of the shul. And this was from another synagogue down in Anambra. Some of the signs that they had up. And this was another welcoming ceremony that they did for me in Anambra. Just gonna go through so we have time. I want to get to the conversion pictures. This was Moshe's sister's wedding. They had a chuppah. And they signed a ketubah. And then this is just some of Abu Janir in Kubwa, where the community is, where the synagogue is. Just to show you the surroundings.
Rabbi Franklin.
And then I have a great picture of him. My parents, team. Okay, and then these are all families here. You can see my brother teaching, them davening together. These are a lot of the people who came. There was even more not pictured. That was them doing the interviews with Rabbi Suzomo. That's Rabbi Suzomo. The children. This was a women's group. They were having a discussion about Abba. I don't know if you want to talk about the problem that they ran into with the hair extensions.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was a slight problem because the women who wanted to have the Jewish ceremony got hair extensions, but you can't wear them when you dunk for the mikveh. So they had to take them out and put them back on afterwards.
So that was them just having a discussion about it. These are all pictures that Bonnie took. Bonnie came.
That's Bonnie Sussman.
Bonnie Sussman, she came. She took a lot of pictures. A lot of these are hers. Moshe and my brother Ari. Okay, and this was after Havdalah. Let's play this quickly for you.
After Havdalah, they literally danced for a half an hour. It was just wonderful.
Yeah, so they danced for a very long time. There's another video of it, and we'll play the same thing. They're very excited that everybody was there. Yeah, so it was a very joyous time for the whole community. This is them taking out the children's hair to prepare for the mikvah. This was the river they used for the mikvah, and the women and children. And then this was before the wedding ceremonies. There was a Kabbalah Panim, and then before the Chupot. It's Habakkuk, who's the leader of the community, the elder, and his wife, Moshe's parents. That's Ugo, who's here, and his wife Leah, Moshe's sister, is on the call. And then several other couples had their Jewish wedding. And that's it. Now I will stop sharing. I can figure out how. And then I think, I don't know if anybody wants to ask questions.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Rabbi Saks, did you perform the wedding of your daughter and Moshe?
Well, no, they're not, actually, believe it or not, they're not married yet.
They're not married yet.
They're not married because Moshe is coming in on it's called a K-1 visa, Ellie, is that what it's called? It's a visa, what'd you say?
Yeah, it's a K-1
Yes.
visa.
So the K-1 visa is basically a visa in which you come to the US and you have to get married within 90 days. Otherwise, they kick you back out. But you can't come in already married, obviously. So they're not married. It was a tribal ceremony to acknowledge their relationship.
We have not had a
but it wasn't-
Jewish wedding. We're not married. We're just
Right, so they're not married, exactly. I
So when-
certainly will officiate when they do get married here in the States. Yes, that will happen.
When do you think he'll get his visa? I know it's very difficult these days.
it's very difficult. We don't know when.
Yeah, it does take a long time. The system is all backed up because of COVID primarily. So it's like, it's like any kind of waiting list. Once you get backed up, the list gets longer and longer. So yes, it will happen, but it may take a while.
I see. By the way, just before there are any question, I neglected to say I want to thank Rabbi Kogan very much for originally suggesting that I contact you, Rabbi Saks.
Sure.
And I had read the article when you mentioned it to me, but
I'll just about the article. It's funny when Eliana wrote the article and told us about it, and she said, "Oh, they want a picture of the two of us," which I gave them, and I thought. And she said, "Oh, it's going to be on the cover." So I thought that it would be like, a little insert on the cover, not the main thing. And then, of course, we get the magazine and the whole cover is them. So that was really a wonderful surprise for us.
Yeah. Are there any other questions from anybody? No?
Yes, I have one, Bertha. Is
okay,
it
good.
to whoever of the three of you who want to answer, does this community keep kosher, and how difficult is that for them if they do?
Right. Well, I can say that keeping kosher now means basically not eating meat because there is no kosher meat in Nigeria. They all eat fish, and the fish they eat are kosher fish. One of the things that Rabbi Sizomu hopefully is going to affect, and that's why I brought him in, is that he has, not only himself, he has a shochet in Uganda, and the plan is, whenever we can, to get that shochet to Abuja to teach someone who already knows how to slaughter animals, teach them shechita, so there would be kosher meat in Nigeria. That's the plan. But as of now, so they're basically, if you're really keeping kosher, you can't eat meat. Fish, fine, but not meat.
Well, they say we should all become vegetarians.
Well, that's right. That's another issue. Yes, exactly.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I was interested in during the dancing after Havdalah, what they were singing. Were they singing in Hebrew?
Yes.
Yeah, we were singing in Hebrew. It's Altira of the Yaakov. It's like, "Do not fear, my son Yaakov." That's what we're singing.
Yeah, it was hard to tell because of the sound. But
Yeah, I couldn't tell. Yeah.
Everything they sing is in Hebrew. The only Igbo that was spoken was Habakkuk's welcoming ceremony when Eliana first came and when we first came. But he spoke also in Hebrew and in English as well during the welcoming ceremony. That was private. That was in his, in a parlor room, so to say. But everything is sung. Everything's in Hebrew. The young man who led Tfilot, who was, you might call him the Chazan or the Shliach Tzibur, was absolutely wonderful. He had a wonderful voice. His Hebrew was impeccable. And it was just an amazing experience to listen to him daven.
Do they follow the Ashkenazi like Torah reading and Haftarah, the trope and everything the way we do it here, or?
It's interesting. What I heard was more of a Sephardic lilt in terms of the nusach, in terms of the tunes they use when they daven. Also, they have the custom there, like in Sephardic synagogues, of saying every word. The Shlech Sipur literally chants every word, like you would hear in a Sephardic synagogue. Unlike Ashkenazi, where we sort of mumble and you say the last couple of lines. The Torah reading is mostly done in the Ashkenazi because that's the way they've been taught. Moshe was trained that way. Ari read Torah when he was there. I read Torah, which obviously, but I would say Moshe can answer it more perhaps, but it sounds like it's mostly the traditional Ashkenazi trope.
So in mostly the Igbos, they started practicing Judaism in a Sephardi way, and most times it's mixed. And there's some communities you go to, you hear like the Sephardi, you hear the Ashkenazi, it's kind of mixed. And in my community, like I was having a lecture with Rabbi Moshe Saks. He was saying a lot of things about like during the Torah reading, do you have to do your Vezot Torah at the beginning or you have to do it at the ending? So, these are like minor things that are kind of mixed in most of the Jewish communities in Nigeria. So these are things you see when you go to communities. And it's also something you see in my community also.
Right. Moshe, let me ask you, because I never asked you this before. I know that in your community, because almost all the donations of Sidurim are from the conservative movement. What about the other synagogues in Nigeria? What kind of prayer books do they use? Ones from the conservative movement or just regular, Orthodox or regular Sidurim,
Oh, okay. So this is it. So most of the books we have I would say 85% of the Jewish books we have in Nigeria was donated by the conservative movement and by some conservative rabbis who actually donated these books to some individuals, some to the congregation, and some other people also buy Sephardi Siddur either from Israel or from the US. And in Nigeria, most people always want to pray with the Sephardi Siddur, which actually at the end of every Shakarit becomes so lengthy, so long, and people are like very tired and want to go home, so yeah. So most of the books are actually from lots of rabbis who've been to Nigeria, actually visited for probably a week, a month, and then they gave like some few books, and then the very few of the books in Nigeria are actually the one that most people bought individually by themselves, and that's what they used to pray in most Orthodox Jewish communities in Nigeria.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Are you able to get matzah for Passover?
Okay, getting matzah during Passover is quite very difficult because last time I remember when I was speaking with my fiancée, we usually get matzah from Chabad, and the matzah we got from Chabad 2 years ago, it came very late because of the problem they had with custom, and also this year they also had a problem with custom, last year they also had a problem with custom releasing the matzah. So we were able to get from people who were able to buy from Israel. So getting matzah during Passover is quite very difficult. People want to get in advance.
Right. So actually last year I sent Moshe over a regular a DHL carrier, a box or 2 boxes might have been, 2 boxes of books for studying for people who were doing a conversion. I also enclosed 2 boxes of matzah. Certainly enough maybe for their family, but not for everybody. So,
yeah.
Start baking them yourself.
Could do that too, actually. You're right.
What is the Jewish population in Nigeria, total population?
That's a very difficult question. We haven't actually checked, but maybe my brother-in-law would have an idea. I'm not sure.
Is there any thought by anyone possibly about going to Israel at any time?
Sorry?
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Ugo. So Ugo, is there a number that you have of the
Yes.
amount of people who say they're Jewish in Nigeria?
Yeah, so that's we're looking at those who are actively practicing. Say there are over 2,000 or 2,500 active practice. We just had a fraction of them show for the conversion. Quite a whole lot didn't come for the conversion. A whole lot of them were in there, and they were in the eastern part of Nigeria, where you find quite a lot of synagogues and people who are actually practicing Jewish following. There are lots of families, even when I was growing up, who practice Judaism on their own, possibly because they live so far off from where the synagogue is, and they try to follow, like they said before, the traditional Jewish Orthodox Judaism. So they wouldn't want to trek or walk down or drive to any synagogue. So they just observe Shabbat at home, keep the festivals with their families. So I would say about 2,000, 2,500 people. And in Nigeria, we have about a population of 2 million people, 200 million people. So over 200 million people, and then you're talking about 2,500 people. It looks like an insignificant amount. So people could say, I don't think there are Jews in Nigeria. I don't think there are Jews anywhere, because that fraction is very small.
Thank you.
Somebody.
Anyone else? You know, I'll tell you something very interesting. When I was in Scranton, I had as a scholar in residence Rabbi Capers Fournier. He's the sort of the chief rabbi of most of the African congregations, also here, African American in the world. And he talked about the Igbo tribe, which numbers some 50 million people. He says and he already talked about the fact that the majority of the Igbo tribe do observe Jewish ritual, like this idea of getting circumcised on the 8th day and, keeping kosher, although they may not practice much else. He says if we count them as Jews, we jump up to one of the larger religions in the world. That's how many Igbo there are and observe at least rudimentary Judaism. Although Ugo is right, in terms of those who I really identify and go to synagogues, there are only probably about 2,500 or so. Again, I'll just remind you, if you go to Kulanu website, you can find out more about not just Nigeria, African Jews, but all over. There are Jews everywhere who identify with Judaism, or people who maybe are not halakhically Jewish yet, but certainly, and that's what Kulanu does, is they go around. I know that Bonnie and Jerry, Rabbi Sussin, were in Madagascar a number of years ago. They were in parts of Latin America. So it's fascinating.
I just wanted to add before we end, we began a fundraiser before the conversion to help pay for the conversion, but it's still an ongoing fundraiser where we're trying to help rebuild the roof of the synagogue, which is in bad repair, and also what my dad talked about, trying to get a shofet trained for the community and send somebody to yeshiva. We're still continuing the fundraiser. So I've just put the link to the fundraiser in the chat if you're looking for a way to donate to the community. But I just wanted to also echo what everyone was saying. There's 2,500 Jews about who practice in Nigeria, but it's growing. There's always more people who are joining and interested in becoming Jewish. But only
Again, how many synagogues are there in Nigeria?
Moshe, I know.
There are about 50 synagogues in Nigeria. And just 2 synagogues in Abuja. So places where we have more synagogues in the eastern part of Nigeria, Anambra, Imo, like mostly the eastern part, and also the western part of Nigeria. So there's actually no synagogue in the northern part of Nigeria because that's where we have the Hadassahs and, yeah.
Any other questions? Well, It's really been wonderful to learn about what you were doing in Nigeria and in general, what's happening with the Jews in Nigeria and elsewhere in Africa. And I've been to the Kulano site. It's really, yeah, it's really very interesting what they're doing. Yeah.
I would suggest if you want to do another program down the road about outreach to Jewish communities all over the world, you have Bonnie come and speak at one of your meetings, who can talk to you about this on a global scale. And she has even more fascinating stories than I do, because I only dealt with Abuja, you know, in this small community, where she could tell you some of her, you know, experiences all over the world with Kulanu. So I always recommend her, when I'm done talking about this topic, to learn more about the entire experience, because this is being replicated all over the world, and she can tell you more about that.
So I'd love to do that.
Yeah,
I
so you
would be
can send me
happy.
contact.
I would be happy, Bertha, to put you in contact with her.
Wonderful. I appreciate all you're doing. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful idea. Right.
Yeah.
I want to thank also to Rabbi Saks and to Liana and to Moshe and to Hugo for joining us. It's really wonderful. This is one of the wonderful advantages, Rabbi Saks, not only of Zoom, but also of neighbors.
Yes. Right. So it's always been a pleasure working with you, Rabbi Kogan, and with Rabbi Wise, you know, at the other synagogue. I have to just keep my mind right. Hollis Hills, right. So yes, and I said, if you have any other questions, you can always email me. Rabbi Kogan has my email. Bertha has my email. But again, I would suggest, if this is an interesting topic, to down the road contact Bonnie, and she'd be more than happy, especially on Zoom. I mean, she could, you know, she lives in Staten Island, but it's so much easier. And she would give a fascinating tale of, like I said, experiences, and she has videos too. Some of them I think can see on Kulanu's website. But it's just the whole idea of Jews in these outlying areas, or people practicing Judaism, and again, I wasn't really, I knew about it, I read about it, but until I got involved, it really was off the radar for me. And we're just trying to let people know that there are Jews everywhere, or people who are practicing Judaism everywhere. Yeah. And it's good to know about them.
It's amazing what we learn. And
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Again, thank you so much. We've learned a lot from you today.
Good. I'm glad.
And it was great having you. And again, Rabbi Kogan, thank you for suggesting it as well. I should have thought about when I read the article to begin with, but thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for taking the suggestion, Bertha.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having us, and have a wonderful day.
Be well, everybody.
You too.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye, thank you.
It was very interesting.